Joining us here in studio in New York is Nick Kristof from the New York Times. Nick, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.
What's your initial reaction to this decision by the president tonight?
You know, I start off with a deep suspicion about anything that President Trump does, but in this case, actually, I think he did the right thing. I mean, I was interviewing Hillary Clinton earlier today, and she prescribed pretty much exactly the same response, hitting airfields in Syria with missiles. And, you know, look, we don't know where this is going to go from here. All war plans go astray the moment the first shot is fired. There are real questions about the legal status of this attack. But at the end of the day, there have been 300,000 people killed in Syria, 5 million refugees sent abroad because Assad has no disincentive. There's no reason for him not to use these weapons. And especially the use of chemical weapons violated a taboo that the world tried to put in place 100 years ago in World War I. I think that it was the right thing to do. I hope that it's not just a, if it's just done one time, it's not going to change the overall calculus. And look, there's a lot of nice talk about removing Assad from power. We're not going to remove Assad from power. We can limit his use of his air assets to drop barrel bombs or chemical weapons on his own people.
In terms of the U.S. involvement in Syria, obviously this is not our first military involvement. These are not even our first cruise missile strikes.
That's right.
There have been cruise missile strikes from the Mediterranean at what were described as al-Qaeda-linked targets in 2014. There have been many, many, many bombing raids, sometimes unilaterally, sometimes with a coalition of Arab allies targeting ISIS. In Syria, there are more than 500 U.S. personnel on the ground in ISIS, and there have been boots on the ground raids there. There's been a lot of different forms of more or less pinpoint military actions by the U.S. in Syria. This one is different because it targets the Syrian military.
That's right. I mean, we have focused very much on ISIS, and that is because ISIS has attacked Americans in particularly dramatic and terrible ways. But more than 90% of the slaughter in Syria has not involved ISIS, but has involved the civil war and primarily Assad. And, you know, he is able to kill people in lots and lots of different ways that we probably cannot easily affect. We can affect reasonably easily his ability to drop barrel bombs and drop chemical weapons on people. He has a very limited number of fixed-wing aircraft. Russia has been willing to help him, but it's not going to want to take over the role of Air Force of Syria. And that is why we can, disable airstrips, take out his airplanes. Now, if we disable an airstrip, it can be repaired fairly quickly. And then the question becomes, do we hit it again? There are real risks here, but over the last 6 years, we've seen the risks that occur if you don't do anything.
Doesn't this do something really interesting to the Russia storyline here in this country?
It certainly does. And I mean, in general, I think a lot of us worried that after President Trump took office, there would be a lot of very close cooperation with Russia and lifting of sanctions. And in fact, since then, we've seen a tougher approach to Moscow. And this is certainly something that Moscow will be unhappy about. I don't think Russia, I don't think Russia is going to react all that badly. I don't think there's much they can do. I think one of the risks is that Iranians can cause real harm to American forces in Iraq. That would be a pressure point. And there's a minefield ahead. There are all kinds of things that can go wrong. But we have to remember the alternative is that all kinds of things have gone wrong over 6 years.
There's